So now let's get into the second part of the zodiac, which begins with Libra. Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, and it is the other Venus-ruled sign along with Taurus. And by the time we get to Libra in the zodiac, we do have kind of a shift from the more personal upper body aspects of the salts into the lower part of the body, starting with the kidneys and down into the reproductive organs and the legs. We also have the bone structure and other parts of the body that are now starting to be represented. Whereas before with Phos, we had the heart, Kali Sulph, we also had the digestive system. Basically, once we get to Libra, we get this sense of almost kind of like the things that can sort of refine and purify what's already present in the body, right? So with Libra, we have this salt, Phos, is really great for balancing the acidity and the alkalinity of the body. It's also, like I wrote here, it's really good for heartburn, indigestion, anything that kind of is represented by an excess of acidity in the body, which is usually the issue that we have if we're out of balance. It really balances out excess acids in the body. So that's really good to know. It's also really good for headaches, and it as the opposite salt to Kali Phos, you can kind of understand that. So this one I think works sort of in a harmonizing way, whereas Kali Phos kind of increases that combustible power, right? Because it's an explosive kind of fiery energy. The Libra salt works on headaches in more of a like harmonizing, gentle, cool way. And like I said before, I've had the most amazing results with the Kali Phos for headaches. I haven't personally used the Libra salt as much for headaches, but that doesn't mean that somebody else won't have the opposite experience, right? Where the Libra one works really well for your headaches and the Aries one doesn't. This is just, what works for me as well, kind of based on my own chart and my energies. But the Libra salt as well is really good for anger, jealousy, on the emotional level, any kind of like hot, burning emotion. The Libra salt kind of harmonizes that or cools it down. It's very chill salt. It kind of is a very balancing salt, which is really, why it has the connection with Libra, I'm sure, along with the fact that it really helps with the kidney health as well. So the kidneys regulate the salinity, among other things, the salinity of the blood, and the Libra salt helps with the kidneys being able to do that process. Let's talk about the Scorpio salt. For my Scorpios out there, Calc Sulph is the Scorpio salt. And because I have my Sun, Moon, and Venus, and Pluto in Scorpio, this has been a really important salt for me. I always get the biggest one of the Scorpio salt because I know I'm going to use it the most. However, I will say that in the 4 years that I've been taking these salts, I have decreased a little bit my consumption of Calc Sulph because I find that I think that I got my body into a better, I think I got my body into like a better absorption of it or a better containment of it. So I do not feel like I need it as much. Now I mainly use it if I'm feeling extremely stressed or if I start to feel a cold coming on. So Calc Sulph is amazing for colds and flus. Anytime that you have like the very first onset of like a fever, or you start to feel a tickle in your throat, or you just kind of starting to feel like, like there's some soreness, or, you're like swallowing and it just something doesn't feel quite right. This is a really amazing salt to just bam, get in there with it because it really helps. And again, I've had amazing experiences with the Scorpio Calc Sulph salt. So one of them was that it came on really quickly. I started to get like a runny nose and I blew my nose a couple of times, and then within a very short part of the day, my nose was completely stuffed up. And that was really frustrating for me because it was approaching the evening time. And I was really wanting to be able to breathe out of my nose when I go to sleep. I really don't like to not have the ability to like have my airways clear when I'm sleeping because my mouth gets dry and I just don't like it. So I took 4 of these under my tongue every 15 minutes for 2 hours. And at the end of the 2 hours, I kid you not, my nasal passageways had gone from like cemented shut. Like I couldn't take even a single little tiny bit of breath through my nose. 2 hours later, my airways were completely open and there was nothing, not even the tiniest bit of mucus or anything. And I got to sleep fine and I didn't have a return of the symptoms the next day. So again, I can't promise you that you are going to have the same experience because this salt may work particular for me based on my chart. So you have to also think about your family history, what your chart looks like, the charts of your parents as well, all of the different things that could connect here. You have to think about. So, and again, that was just my experience, but ever since that happened, that was one of the first experiences I had with these salts. And I was amazed. I was very, very impressed. And ever since then, I use them all the time. So anytime I feel the tiniest bit of a cold coming on, I always make sure to take it. And there's been times where I still have had to have some downtime because I still wasn't feeling great. But my feeling on this is that if I hadn't taken this, I think I would have suffered a lot more. Whereas maybe I would have had flu symptoms. I would have been really, stuffy and sick and coughing and having a sore throat or a drip and just really icky stuff. It was like either going to be that or I was just going to be a little tired and recognize that my energy was low and keep taking this and spend the day kind of resting on the couch, drinking fluids, reading a book, just really nourishing myself. So, that's been a huge thing for me is just even though, I might recognize my vitality is a little low, that's a lot better than experiencing the full brunt of the symptoms, in my opinion. So that's something. So with the Calc Sulph, though, this is also a really good salt for teenagers who have acne. I've seen homeopaths recommend this for teenagers who have acne or who have like digestive issues that are resulting in acne because there is the perspective, and again, I'm not a practitioner or a scientist, but there is the perspective that sometimes the acne is the result of the body trying to like purge toxins from the system. So things like acne, body odor is another way that our body, like through sweat, tries to secrete toxins and get those toxins out of our system, and that can result in some unpleasant symptoms, some unpleasant sensations. All of these things I would say Calc Sulph can be really good for. Calcium sulfate is really good for detoxing the entire body. It's great for clearing the skin. It's great for just overall fleshing out of pus, abscesses if you have, a boil or something infected, like an infected wound. It's great for liver detox, excess heat. Let's see, what else do we have here? I don't want to forget anything. First sign of an infection and ulcers and bronchitis, excess sweating. So if you ever feel like you lay down in bed and you just kind of feel hot for some reason, or you just, it's like, I don't have that a lot because I have more of a cold constitution, but I have felt it before. Calc Sulph can be really good for that as well because it's just, again, it's helping to cleanse and purge anything excess that your body is trying to get out. Sagittarius is Silicea, and this is also sometimes spelled as silica. So you'll see both of those words, and there's also a homeopathic remedy called silica or silicea as well that's different from the mineral, this particular concoction. However, it's a really great salt for anything having to do with the skin, hair, and nails. Silicea is one of the salts that's known also as the homeopathic lancet, and this is something that has been observed where it's really good for applying directly to wounds It helps expunge negative toxins from the wound and then to close it up. So it's really good as well for if you have a splinter. Taking Silicea internally will help your body get the splinter out, which I think is pretty amazing. It actually helps your body push out the splinter or whatever it is that has gotten caught up in the skin. So really good for hair, skin, and nails, very strengthening for all of those parts of the body, as well as the shine to the skin. I notice with having enough Silicea of this mineral compound, it really helps with like the luminosity of the skin and that sense of like, ooh, there's like a healthy kind of glow to that skin. That's something that really connects well to this salt. So one of the things that this salt is also really good for is stamina, which makes sense with the Sagittarius energy, which is, you know, a very physical sign in a lot of ways. It does have to do with, you know, the archer. It has to do with endurance. Athleticism is also a theme. So Silicea can be really good for athletes or anybody who's working on their physical health, or even if you just want to try and grow your hair out or grow your nails out. If that's a goal of yours to get healthier nails or to grow your hair out, this could be a really great salt to experiment with that. It's also really good for headaches at the front of the forehead. So kind of like right in here. And I don't tend to get headaches right there. Like I said before, my headaches are very much the Phos headache on one side or on kind of like the top of the head. So those are kind of the headaches I get. But if you do ever get a headache that's kind of more focused towards the front of the head, definitely give Silicea a try. It could be really, really beneficial. Okay, Capricorns have given me the most feedback about the Calc Phos symptoms, and this is one of the things that I also have noticed because I have a lot of Capricorns in my family. We all need the calcium phosphate, which is the Capricorn salt. So as you would expect, thematically, it very much makes sense, the association of Calc Phos is with the skeletal structure and it's with the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn rules the skeletal structure and Calc Phos heals the skeletal structure. So if you have a lot of Capricorn in your chart, or even just a Capricorn rising or a Capricorn stellium or something like that, you might really resonate with this, that you have joint pain, arthritic pain, that feeling of your bones almost hurting, or that feeling of like a deficiency in calcium where minerals are being leached from the bones in order to function. You know, sometimes the body will take calcium and magnesium out of the bones so that to keep the heart pumping, right? So there's that connection between the Leo and the Capricorn salts and the Leo and Capricorn signs, is they need each other to be, you know, healthy. Otherwise, the body will try and steal minerals from one place to bring it somewhere else, and obviously that can lead to really difficult and painful symptoms, really difficult and painful diseases such as osteoporosis and that kind of thing. So the Calc Phos salt is really good for anything having to do with the bone structure, anything having to do with arthritis, particularly the colder type of arthritis, which is more the osteoarthritis, not necessarily the autoimmune type of arthritis, which is more of a Marsy condition of inflammation, where what I'm talking about is more the Saturnian arthritis, which is like the colder, you know, just like the muscles and like the tiny ligaments and the joints are literally getting worn down. It's not necessarily that there's an autoimmune inflammation response. It's more like a physical mineral deficiency type of thing. That's really where Calc Phos can do amazing things, I personally feel. But again, keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. So it's also really good for digestion, assimilation of nutrients. It's really good for, all tooth pain. So this is something really significant about Calc Phos that I have experienced for myself. When I pair Calc Phos and Calc Fluor, the Cancer Capricorn axis, when I pair these, I feel like these are the best two salts together for tooth pain and also for strength of the enamel of the teeth. So I'll tell you a little story about this. For me, I have a molar that is coming in sideways. Both of my molars are, but only one of them causes me pain. And I can, go and get a surgery and get it taken out. But I don't know that that's what I want to do. It sounds like a really extreme, intense procedure for me, and it's not something that I would take lightly. So what I've been doing is taking the calc floor. The calc floor creates like the crust of the teeth. So the calc floor is more concentrated on the surface of the teeth. The calc phos is more the center of the teeth and the bone. So when you take both of those together, and I usually just put 4 of each under my tongue when I'm having that difficulty, or sometimes I'll take 4 calc phos, wait 20 minutes to take the calc floor. But either way, I'm going to get both of those salts intermittently every 15 minutes for about 2 hours. And then again, I do the thing where I go and lay down for 15 or 20 minutes. And usually, pretty much every time when I get up, I feel a little bit more refreshed. I feel like my tooth pain, when it is acting up, it is way, way reduced. And so that's been something that I have done. And sometimes it's completely gone, which I think is amazing. So that's something where, this is kind of a physical thing, I guess. For me, like if the tooth is coming in sideways, there's not really a great natural cure for that in a sense, because that's just the way this is the way I think about it. I could be wrong. That's just the way that the tissue is shaped, and that's just something that is occurring there. But when I support myself with the mineral compounds that are needed to have healthy bone structure, healthy gums, and healthy teeth, for some reason, that seems to make it go away. So again, try it yourself. Don't take my word for it. Let's talk about the Aquarius salt. So the Aquarius salt is nat myrrh, natrum myrrh, which is sodium chloride. And this is, again, another salt that helps regulate hydration. So if you're dehydrated, this salt can help you retain the hydration and utilize the hydration that your body needs. So it kind of, on a molecular level, the way I think of it is that it almost makes the water in the body more accessible. If you drink a lot of like distilled water, for example, or very, very highly purified water, sometimes that water can almost not have enough structure to it. It can maybe not have quite enough like of the sacred geometry that minerals have that we need in our body. And so sometimes with drinking distilled water or very, very strongly purified water can sometimes make us feel like we're still not really getting hydrated enough. We might be drinking plenty of water, but if we're not using it and uptaking it in the best way possible, then if it's devoid of a pattern or structure that our body can recognize and take up, then we might have an issue with hydration. So that's one of the things when I think about that, I think about the Aquarius salt, nat myrrh. I think that this is, it's recommended for headaches. I, again, personally haven't really used it for headaches. But we have dry mouth, thirst, constipation. So again, the dry aspects, but then also on the other end, if there is a more extreme ponderance of waters in the body, so swelling, think edema, think swollen ankles, oily skin, very oily skin, things that indicate, maybe like you wash your hair and then the next day your hair is completely like oily and you have to wash it every single day. This could potentially be a good salt for that. It's also good for coughs with phlegm and anything having to do with kind of either too much watery substance or not enough watery substance, essentially is what the Aquarius salt nat myrrh is for. It's also recommended, like I said, for conditions of dryness, like a dry cough, excess salivation, cold sores, red tip of the tongue, insect bites, back pain, and also grief is what I have written down here. So I would use this sympathetically, meaning it has kind of like a harmonizing or a similar energy to what it's trying to treat, which is definitely a tenet of the homeopathic process. But these are a little different than regular homeopathic remedies because they're not they're minerals. They're not necessarily herbs or anything that's not already present in the body. These are minerals that we already have in the body. So it's a little different than just garden variety homeopathy. The Pisces salt, Ferrum Phos, this is a really important salt. So Ferrum Phos carries, it's an oxygen carrier. Ferrum phosphate is iron in the blood, and it carries oxygen. So one of the homeopaths that I've seen has talked about potentially that this is a really good salt for use if you feel any kind of virus coming on, because it has this ability to oxygenate the blood. And what does that do? Viruses cannot exist in a very oxygenated environment. That's another one of the things about the Wim Hof method, right? Of breathing quickly and taking in a lot of oxygen. What that does, and he's actually proven in a clinical setting, he was injected, him and I think it was 10 or 12 other volunteers were injected with Ebola virus, and they had this experiment done where they used his Wim Hof breathing techniques, and they were all able to keep themselves from actually succumbing to the virus. So that's been well documented. That's a real study that was done on the ability that we have as individuals to modulate our own oxygen levels in our bloodstream through conscious breathing techniques, and how that can actually really powerfully stave off viral infections, because a virus cannot thrive in a well oxygenated environment. So Ferrum Phos is really good for anytime that you feel a little bit of a virus coming on, or if you want to just prepare and take extra good care of your immune system, that can be really, really good. It's also just an all-around blood tonic, blood purifying agent. It is incredibly useful for as well anemia, fatigue. Anytime that there is a blood issue, Ferrum Phos is probably going to be recommended either with the Virgo salt, Sulph. These two are recommended often together for cleansing liver issues and purifying the blood. And also with Myrrh, which when these two are recommended together, they are really good at building tissues and helping the blood carry nutrients that it needs to sites where there is healing that needs to be done. So, and also Ferrum Phos is really well taken with Phos. These two work together synergistically as well. Very good for eyesight, very good for overall healing of any issues around the eyes. So, really beautiful summary of the salts. I'm sorry that this is so freaking long, you guys, but I just wanted to cover these salts, cover some of their attributes and some of the things about them that are really useful and things that you may want to use them for. Some of these salts I use more than others. Okay, so that's just based on my constitution as well as my astrology. And we're going to go a lot more in depth into the astrology connections in the moon mapping course, which again is available for whatever price you can pay, because I feel that this information, especially the astrological piece, is incredibly empowering. However, I've put countless hours into creating this material, and the process of running the course is going to take almost all of my working hours in the month of May. It's going to take a lot of time, and during that time, I will not be able to earn an income. So it's really important that I do charge something for this course, but I really wanted to make sure that this information is available to anybody who wants it. So if you want to join the Moon Maps course, the recommended exchange of $199, which is a great value for everything that you're getting in the material, is still too much of a hardship for you, please go ahead and take advantage of the pay whatever you can option. I really want you to be included, especially if you promise to be a positive influence in the private group. Okay guys, I am sending you so much love. I hope that this information has been useful for you in some way. Oh, I also forgot. If you are overwhelmed by the amount of information here and you don't have, the energy to just dive into a bunch of study and homeopathic research like I have, one thing that you can do that will really, really genuinely make a huge difference, I personally believe, is bioplasma, which is the mixture of all 12 of the salts. So again, if you just want to get a well-rounded, get your whole buffet of salts and you don't really want to experiment with the individuals, bioplasma is the way to go. I think this is really helpful. It's very supportive to your whole body, and this thing is really, this is 1,000 tablets, and I think it was only $17. So it's really not expensive, and it's really a low risk, because they are so gentle. So if you want to try the bioplasma, I'll put a link for the bioplasma below. If that's what you can afford to do right now, that's what I would recommend, because if you have deficiencies if you have a lot of deficiencies, or if you have deficiencies that it might be hard for you to pick up on, I think that the bioplasma is a really great option, because again, it is so cheap. It's under 20 bucks, and you can take it twice a day and you'll get a little bit of every salt. And I really believe that if people are open to trying this for a year, let's say take bioplasma for a year, you'll probably start to see some really unexpected changes like I did. Again, I still have to do other things for my health. I have to eat well, I have to drink good water, I have to meditate, I have to take care of my emotional health, my mental health. There are so many other things that I do to take care of myself. This is not a panacea. This is not the whole story. This doesn't mean that you just stop working out or taking efforts in other ways to maintain your health and well-being. But I really do feel that this is an incredibly mysterious, unusual piece of human history that I think really deserves attention right now, and that's why I'm bringing it forward. So if you found this useful, definitely leave me a comment below and let me know. If you have any questions, please also leave your questions below, and I will definitely answer them to the best of my ability. Give this video a thumbs up, share this information with a friend, please pass this video around. I want people to get access to this information and to think about which salts might be beneficial for them at this time. I think that there's so much good that can be received with these salts, and they are so inexpensive and so gentle on the body. So the other option that could potentially be tricky is that these are made with lactose, but they are so small. So if you have a really, really serious problem with lactose, then maybe you will have to find a different provider. And I don't use any other providers, but I will look up and do some research for one that I'll put below just in case, for those of you who really can't do the lactose piece. But again, these are so small. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope this gives you some insight. Sending you all lots of love. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.